The title of Duke of Rothesay and the other Scottish titles which I've had the honour to carry for so long, I now pass to Catherine.
The decision was kept so quiet that only a handful of people knew it was happening. Late that night, Charles summoned Prince William, Catherine, Princess Anne, and 2 senior constitutional advisors to a private room. The atmosphere inside was tense. The king did not open with small talk or warm family greetings. Instead, he pulled out a file containing what is called the Emergency Crown Continuity Decree. This special royal order is designed to keep the institution running smoothly when key leaders are unavailable, ill, or facing a crisis. Before anyone could ask questions, Charles signed his name on the final page. With that single stroke of a pen, he officially named Catherine as the monarchy's principal female state representative. This decision moved her far beyond her standard public duties. Under the terms of the decree, Catherine was given direct access to restricted state briefings, a permanent seat at confidential internal planning meetings, and the legal authority to organize work across senior royal households. If the king or Prince William were ever unable to carry out their duties, Catherine would now step directly into the lead role to guide official affairs. Inside the room, the reaction was immediate silence. Catherine picked up the document and read the final page twice. As the full meaning of the order settled over her, she turned toward William. The prince felt a deep sense of pride watching his wife gain such immense respect, but beneath that pride was a sudden wave of fear. They both knew what this meant. Catherine was no longer just a supportive wife preparing for a future role as queen. She was being handed real institutional authority right now. Power inside the royal family never comes without a price. William and Catherine had spent years trying to build a normal life for their 3 children, shielding them from the constant weight of royal expectations. But this decree pushed that pressure directly into their home. They realized that managing state affairs, handling sensitive crisis plans, and taking charge of royal decisions would demand huge sacrifices. It would mean less privacy, harder choices, and constant public pressure on their marriage and family life. Charles put his pen down and addressed the room directly. He explained that the monarchy could no longer wait for slow traditions while facing modern challenges. Official meeting notes reveal that the king had been secretly working on this decree for weeks, driven by a need to secure the crown's future. But one major presence was missing from the room. Queen Camilla had not been invited to the late-night meeting. In fact, several key responsibilities that were once linked to the Queen's office were officially moved over to Catherine under the new decree. Princess Anne was the first to speak. Known for her direct and practical nature, she pushed the signed document across the table toward Catherine. Anne looked at the future queen and made the reality crystal clear. From that exact moment, every room Catherine walked into would look to her for leadership before anyone else spoke. Catherine did not celebrate or smile. She simply placed her hand over the decree, fully aware that this honor carried a heavy burden no public applause could lighten. As the meeting ended, a sealed copy of the signed decree was immediately dispatched to another royal residence. While Catherine stood in silence, processing her sudden rise to power, someone else in the family was about to open that envelope and discover exactly what Catherine's new authority had taken away from them. The decision was made, the document was signed, and the future of the royal family had officially changed overnight. To understand why King Charles signed such a drastic late-night decree, you have to look back at the chaotic evening that started it all. Long before the private meeting at Buckingham Palace, a major royal event fell apart in public, exposing a dangerous power struggle that the king could no longer ignore. It happened during a high-profile Commonwealth leadership reception, a critical gathering meant to welcome representatives from nations around the world. The evening was supposed to show strength, unity, and flawless royal organization. Instead, it quickly turned into an embarrassing disaster behind the scenes. 2 separate palace teams were running the event, Queen Camilla's household staff and Catherine's team from the Wales household. For months, These two offices had been quietly fighting over schedules, official appearances, and who had the final say when King Charles scaled back his workload. Neither team wanted to back down, and that internal rivalry caused complete confusion on the night of the reception. Visiting international delegations were left standing in long hallways with no clear direction on where to go. Senior royals received conflicting entry instructions, creating an awkward visual delay in front of distinguished guests. To make matters worse, just minutes before King Charles was set to step up to the podium and deliver his official speech, he reached for his briefing folder and realized it was completely missing. The entire reception was on the verge of becoming a public humiliation. As panic began to spread among the staff, Catherine noticed the growing confusion before anyone else acted. While courtiers argued over who was responsible for the mistake, the Princess of Wales stepped forward with complete calm. She retrieved the missing briefing folder from a visibly shaken aide and personally handed it to the king. Without waiting for approval from the competing household teams, Catherine took charge of the room. She quietly rearranged the greeting line, spoke directly to the waiting foreign delegates, and guided the evening back on track. Within minutes, the awkward tension vanished, and the event proceeded smoothly. King Charles stood only a few feet away, watching the entire scene unfold. He saw two things very clearly. First, that personal rivalries between palace teams were putting the monarchy's reputation at risk. And second, that Catherine possessed the natural command needed to restore order under intense pressure. While the king saw a capable future leader, Queen Camilla saw a direct threat to her authority. Shortly after the reception ended, Camilla followed Catherine into a private side chamber. The queen consort accused Catherine of stepping out of line and taking on power that had never been officially granted to her. Camilla's reaction was fueled by years of hard work to secure her own position, and she feared that Catherine's growing influence was pushing her aside. Catherine stayed completely calm. She politely explained that she had only stepped in to protect the crown from being embarrassed in front of international guests, not to challenge the queen's rank. But Catherine's controlled answer only made Camilla angrier. To Camilla, Catherine's confidence was proof that the younger royal believed swift action mattered far more than official titles. The next day, King Charles ordered an internal review to find out how the event had gone so wrong. The report revealed that key information had been deliberately held back during the disagreement between the two household teams. It was not just a simple mistake. Personal rivalry had directly disrupted a major state event. That was the moment Princess Anne stepped in to deliver a harsh truth. In a private conversation with the king, the Princess Royal pointed out that while other members of the family were busy guarding their personal territory, Catherine was the only one who actually took control and solved the crisis. Anne warned her brother that the current system was broken. She told him directly that if another crisis hit, the monarchy could not survive on confused instructions and private arguments. Anne made Charles confront a question he had been avoiding. Who could truly hold the institution together when the next major storm arrived? The king realized his sister was right. He could no longer rely on silent agreements or hope that the two households would work things out on their own. He needed a clear, permanent structure of leadership. Right then, Charles made the decision to draft a brand new decree, one that would officially hand control to Catherine and change the future of the royal family forever. When the sealed copy of the decree arrived at Clarence House, Queen Camilla opened it alone. As she read through the official language, the full reality of what her husband had done hit her all at once. Clause after clause transferred key responsibilities away from her office and directly to Catherine. Control over major diplomatic receptions, ceremonial planning, and strategic royal briefings was no longer hers. Camilla slowly sat down, staring at the phrase repeated throughout the document. Continuity of sovereign representation. It meant that whenever key leadership was needed in public, Catherine was now authorized to step in. This was not a temporary shift while the king recovered from a busy schedule. It was permanent. Years of fighting for her place inside the institution felt erased by a single signature. Before we dive into the intense private confrontation that followed, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss a single update on the royal family. Driven by anger and a deep sense of betrayal, Camilla demanded an immediate private meeting with King Charles. There were no aides present, no personal secretaries to soften the tone, and no palace cameras to protect public appearances. Camilla walked into the room carrying the draft decree, expecting to persuade her husband to reconsider. Instead, she found the king standing firm, completely distant from the emotional argument she had prepared. Camilla placed the document on the table between them. She asked Charles if he truly intended to strip away her influence after everything she had endured to stand beside him. For decades, she had faced harsh public judgment, media pressure, and private hostility to support his path to the throne. Now she felt pushed aside the moment a new crisis appeared. Charles listened, but he did not back down. He told the Queen Consort that his decision was not personal, but the monarchy could no longer be run around personal reassurance while its future stability was at risk. He explained that the embarrassing confusion at the Commonwealth reception proved the palace needed a single, unbreakable chain of command. Camilla accused Charles of choosing Prince William's future family over the woman who had stood by him during his darkest years, but Charles remained steadfast. He reminded her that his primary duty was to protect the crown above all else, even above his own marriage. He revealed that senior advisors, along with Princess Anne, had independently recommended Catherine for expanded authority. The decision was final, and no amount of personal affection would change it. Realizing the decision was set in stone, Camilla asked one final, sharp question. Who would actually enforce Catherine's new authority when senior figures inside the palace resisted? Charles answered with a single name, Princess Anne. While emotion and anger filled the palace halls, Princess Anne approached the situation with complete focus. Charles had made the decision, but it was Anne who built the operational plan to make sure Catherine's new role actually worked. Anne did not see this as a victory for one side of the family over another. To her, it was purely about the survival of the monarchy. Anne requested a private meeting with Catherine and pushed a heavy 12-month schedule across the desk. It was filled with high-level diplomatic meetings, state visits, military ceremonies, and confidential briefings. The relentless calendar left almost no room for a normal personal or family life. Anne looked at the future queen and gave her a direct, honest warning. She told Catherine that from this day forward, she would be judged far more strictly than any royal woman before her. Every move, every speech, and every decision would be analyzed by the public and the media. Catherine paused as she looked over the massive workload. She admitted to Anne that a part of her wanted to step back. She worried about the heavy physical toll, the impact on her children, and the strain it would place on her marriage to Prince William. She understood why the monarchy needed a strong leader, but she feared losing the private world she had worked so hard to protect. Anne offered no soft comfort or empty promises. She told Catherine plainly that power inside the royal family is never offered at a comfortable time. Refusing the responsibility now would leave the entire institution exposed to the same internal fighting that had caused the recent crisis. Anne's message was firm. Catherine could be afraid of the burden, but she could not pretend the monarchy's problems would vanish without her step forward. Catherine picked up the pen. Her hand hesitated for a moment over the signature line as the silence stretched across the room. Anne waited patiently, knowing that hesitation was simply proof that Catherine understood the true weight of what she was taking on. Finally, Catherine signed the document, officially accepting her new authority and stepping into a role that would change her life forever. By the time the sun came up the next morning, the secret decree was no longer just words on paper. It had officially reshaped how the palace operated day to day. A revised royal schedule was delivered to every office before breakfast, and the sudden changes made one thing instantly clear. The center of authority inside the royal family had shifted. Official control over key diplomatic receptions, Commonwealth events, major national charities, and military patronage ceremonies had been transferred entirely to Catherine's team. Important state briefings that used to pass through multiple offices were now sent directly to her desk. This ended the broken chain of command that had allowed competing teams to issue conflicting orders during previous state occasions. When Queen Camilla opened her morning folder at Clarence House, the shift was impossible to ignore. Right on the second page was a major state reception she had originally been set to lead. Now Catherine's name stood in her place as the official host. Camilla quietly folded the paper, set it down, and kept her voice completely steady as staff moved around the room. But everyone in her household understood what had happened. The machinery of the monarchy was moving on, and her influence was rapidly shrinking. Inside the palace walls, the reaction from royal staff was swift. Courtiers, personal secretaries, and event planners quickly realized where the future power rested. Almost overnight, several key staff members quietly requested transfers to work directly under the Wales household. They knew that Catherine now held final approval over the most important national events, and loyalty across the palace naturally followed authority. These were not just routine office transfers. Each move further weakened Camilla's setup while cementing Catherine's complete control over daily operations. For King Charles, the real human cost of his decision arrived in a short, handwritten note left on his desk. Camilla wrote to him privately, stating that her quiet obedience to his royal order should never be mistaken for forgiveness. Charles read the note twice, closed his red box of state papers, and sat in complete silence. For the first time since signing the decree, the king truly felt the deep damage his decision had caused to his own marriage. Catherine felt no sense of victory or triumph as she watched these changes unfold. Looking at the reassigned schedule on her own desk, she felt a heavy weight of responsibility mixed with genuine empathy for Camilla. She told Prince William that taking on this new authority did not make another person's pain any easier to witness. William reminded her that the hard choice had been made to save the monarchy from chaos, but he could see the emotional toll it was taking on his wife. Catherine knew that if this tension was left to fester inside the family, the resulting anger could eventually poison the entire institution. She decided she could not move forward in her new role, while resentment quietly broke the family apart. She personally asked Camilla for a private, one-on-one meeting, with no aides, no secretaries, and no official protocol present. Camilla accepted the meeting reluctantly. She believed the invitation might just be a formal attempt by the younger royal to assert her new dominance. But when the two women sat down together behind closed doors, Catherine made her true intentions clear right away. Catherine spoke first, keeping her voice calm and respectful. She told Camilla directly that she had never asked the king to strip duties away from anyone, and she had no intention of using her new decree to humiliate her. Catherine admitted that the massive expectations now placed on her shoulders were frightening. She explained that she felt no pride in taking over these responsibilities, only a heavy obligation to help keep the royal family stable during a difficult period. Camilla listened, expressing the deep pain of watching her hard-won position pushed aside. She explained how painful it felt to spend decades surviving public judgment to stand beside Charles, only to feel erased the moment a new crisis arose. Understanding Camilla's hurt, Catherine made an unexpected offer. She proposed that several key personal causes and long-standing charitable patrons would remain entirely under Camilla's direct leadership. Catherine emphasized that these organizations were built on decades of Camilla's personal dedication, and they should never be treated as mere tasks on an official schedule. A long silence filled the room. Recognizing the sincerity behind Catherine's words, Camilla slowly pushed the disputed state reception briefing across the table. She looked at Catherine and told her to lead the event well. It was a small, quiet gesture, but it marked the moment both women finally accepted the new reality. With a fragile peace established behind closed doors, Catherine prepared to face the public. The fragile peace reached behind closed doors was put to the ultimate test when Buckingham Palace finally released the official announcement. Up until that moment, the emergency crown continuity decree had been a closely guarded family secret. But as soon as the statement went live, national broadcasters interrupted regular programming, major newspapers completely redesigned their front pages, and crowds gathered outside palace gates trying to understand what this massive shift meant for the country. The palace framed the decree as a sensible continuity measure designed by King Charles to ensure long-term stability and a smooth chain of command during times of absence or crisis. While officials emphasized that the legal line of succession remained unchanged, the public and media saw the truth right away. Catherine was no longer just preparing to be queen in some distant future. She was actively stepping into a central leadership role right now. Headlines across the nation declared that the crown had officially turned to her. Watching the news coverage inside their home, Prince William saw how much pressure was mounting on his wife. Commentators praised Catherine's discipline and strength, talking about her as if she were completely immune to fear or exhaustion. Knowing how deeply she felt the private burden of this new role, William switched off the television. He reached for her hand, both of them fully aware that public admiration can quickly transform into overwhelming expectations. The true test of the new decree came just days later, at Catherine's first official state reception as the monarchy's principal representative. The event brought together foreign dignitaries, government leaders, and the entire senior royal family. Every eye in the room, and every media camera outside, was watching to see how the family would handle the public shift in power. Before the heavy wooden doors of the stateroom opened, King Charles stood beside Catherine. He could see the nervous tension beneath her calm posture. The king leaned in and shared a quiet word of wisdom that no one else could hear. He told her that true authority is never proven by forcing people to obey, but by making them feel safe and secure under your leadership. Catherine nodded slowly, letting those words settle over her as she prepared to step forward. When the signal was given to begin the official procession, the moment of truth arrived. Prince William walked proudly at his wife's side, ready to support her in this demanding new chapter. But the most powerful moment came from Queen Camilla. As the procession formed, Camilla paused, offered a polite nod, and deliberately stepped back to let Catherine take the lead into the room. That single, quiet gesture sent a massive message to the entire world. It publicly ended any lingering rumors of a feud over rank and status. By stepping aside, Camilla showed that despite her personal pain, she accepted the king's decision for the overall stability of the crown. The family was presenting a united front, proving that duty to the monarchy came before individual pride. Inside the reception, Catherine led the evening with absolute grace and control. Senior officials and foreign guests followed her guidance without hesitation, proving that the new chain of command was already working smoothly. She did not act like a conqueror claiming victory over her family members. Instead, she carried herself as a dedicated leader who had accepted a heavy responsibility because her country needed stability. That night, the royal family proved that true power does not belong to the person who demands the highest title or the front spot in a line. True power belongs to the person willing to step up and carry the heaviest burden when the institution needs it most. By standing together, King Charles, Queen Camilla, Prince William, and Catherine showed that the monarchy could survive internal crisis and emerge stronger for the future. What do you think about King Charles's sudden decision to hand real power over to Catherine? Did he make the right choice for the future of the monarchy, or was it unfair to Queen Camilla after her decades of service? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this multi-part deep dive, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another royal update.